All right. All right, guys, we are live. Let's see. I'm gonna bring Jeff on here in just a minute. Let me. I actually forgot to get a couple things here. Let me just. Well, all right, Jeff is here. I'll bring him here. I'll let him prepare a little bit. Let me bring up my schedule here just so I can quickly talk to you guys about the shows and announcements and stuff like that. We'll go ahead and I'll bring that up, and then let me just bring up a schedule here. Image file. Sorry, guys. Give me just a moment here. I forgot. Usually I'm so prepared, trying to not used to having guests on here, so I'll bring Jeff's stuff up here in just a moment. Cool. All right. I want to talk a little bit about here. Let me see if I can text him and let him know what I'm doing. I'll go ahead and remove that for a second. Just give him a. Let's see. Okay, let's see. All right, we'll see if we can bring him on here. One of these. Are you there?
I am.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. And then this other one here, you're logged in twice. Let me bring in this other one to see what this is, okay?
Okay.
Maybe that's your video. Is that like a video thing?
Oh, I was sharing, just testing. If I could share screen.
Okay.
So I was.
Right.
I'll do that again if you'd like. So if I did this.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing something else, but I can only bring. Let me just see. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. This is pictures. So yeah,
Great.
You can share whatever. I don't know. I'm a little familiar with. I'm mostly familiar with this. I've been using it for a while. I just. How are you, man? What I'm gonna do is I just gonna really quick bring up my schedule real quick to talk about not only this show but the first show, and then we'll get into whatever. Because I was gonna send you some questions, and I didn't get to that, but that would be the professional way, right?
Nah, don't worry about
questions in advance. All right, guys. Okay.
So I'll make an entrance. I'll turn my video off.
All right. Yeah. I'll come right back with you. Okay. All right, guys. We do have Jeff here. I'm going to get to him in just a minute. I just want to talk about the schedule here. I am going to be announcing. I'm going to bring that up here in just a second. I'm going to be announcing more guests. I'm really happy that I was able to get Jeff for this weekend. And then, I am going to be announcing more guests for Tampa Toy Con. I'm going to show you the flyer here in just a moment. Hopefully we can get some of those people on here to talk to us. And that way you guys are, understand a little bit more about what they do. You don't really get that when you're at the show. If you're a vendor and you're interested in stuff, Ocala's filling up, and the same thing with Coral Springs. So, just don't wait around to get your space. All right. So let me go back, and I'm going to show you the, this is the flyer. It looks familiar from last year, maybe, or whatever, but I know there's a lot here, but I've had, some of these people have contacted me, and I've had other people suggest people and everything. So these are going to be the guests that we're going to have. You saw that I announced Peter Ramundo yesterday or today, who is known for Stitch, but he is was done a lot of other movies too. And then we're going to have Rick and Morty artists coming in from Texas, and Tom Cook is back. I asked him, hey, when can you come back? And it just so happens that he said, well, July. So, and then of course we're going to have Samantha, who I've been seeing a bunch of posts about her Nashville thing. So, but anyway, this weekend, guys, we've got Jeff, and he's our only guest. Usually, as you know, I don't typically have guests in Orlando that much because we haven't quite went back to a 2-day show. I do plan on doing that hopefully next year. And it's just, there's a lot going on in Orlando. And so, there's a lot of distractions, but I'm expecting a great crowd. And everything's looking good. If you please share the show, and hopefully Jeff has seen, I know he's been busy. Hopefully he's seen some of the posts that I made, that we're making posts with him in there and this and that. And I'm sure, if you have questions, guys, and I appreciate everybody being here, Chris, and Mike, I know you guys are up north. Thanks again for joining us, and Shellhead Toys, and certainly Mary. Thank you for the connection here. I think I have Jeff on my friends list. However, I hadn't reached out to him yet, and Mary mentioned, made a comment when I was in Dallas, about maybe having them, at a show or whatever. And I had already thought about that. I just, so you never know how things are going to happen. So, all right, Jeff, you want to come on and talk to us about the whatever. I feel kind of weird. This is two Jeffs on the screen here.
It's the Jeff Club.
Yeah. All right.
I like that club.
Okay, cool. All right, I think I have some of those glasses. I probably should have wore those myself.
These were sold by Pizza Hut when Back to the Future Part 2 came out for, I think, $1.99 or something.
Yeah, I got some. They're in the case back there with Marty and nice. Doc. Yeah. I've got. I'm not your average. I mean, my room, you can see that probably, but this is like just a piece of it.
Looks like fun.
Yeah, it's definitely. Well, that's kind of how I got into these shows. I just was like nostalgia, and then I was like, I'm not usually an autograph guy actually, but Back to the Future is the only thing I really spent money on. I think on that. So.
I do too. I fanboyed out in Dallas over. Christina Ricci and Heather Graham. I got photo with Heather and Christina's autograph, and trying to get my kids John Boyega's, and he was never at his table. I was like, huh? But nonetheless, it was really special for me because I only get to do events with Michael J. Fox, like only once every 5 years at anniversary years or something. And I got to get this shot, but I can't tell what you get. There you go. I finally got to get a nice pic with Mike and Chris. It meant a lot to me because it's a 36-year relationship we've had. We had a lot of fun. I didn't have scenes with Chris in the movies, but I met him while we were shooting. Though I did 2 other films with Christopher Lloyd, The Boat Builder and Chateau Moreau, where we have scenes together. But I was a huge fan. And then I was a huge fan of Michael J. Fox, and I was a huge fan of Leah Thompson. I'd been cast in a film with her and Tom Cruise called All the Right Moves, and my part got written out just before it went into production. And then I knew Crispin Glover. I had done a film with Crispin Glover in '83 before he was cast as George. So I liked working with him, and we exchanged numbers. I tried to stay in touch, and it should have been both Georges there as well, since they had both Jennifers at Dallas. They had both Elizabeth and Claudia for the very first time in 36 years, and that was pretty special, and everyone liked each other. It was good.
Yeah. Now, does Crispin? Does he still have, like? I mean, I know this is again from somebody just vaguely knows what goes on. I mean, does he have still, like, some animosity or whatever toward the movie or whatever, where he wouldn't come to Dallas or something? Or I've never seen her. I mean, I haven't been around this in a while and for long enough to know that he hasn't done a con, or if he does any of these signings or not. So
he does signings at the screenings of his movies. So
okay,
in the mood and something back future. Find it. There are a few things out there, like a action figure. I know Ryan, who owns New Jersey Horror Con, has both our signatures on an action figure. It's pretty rare. But Crispin was, very upset, and I'll show you why. I don't know if you can see what I'm sharing here. This is a Polaroid from my collection of me in the young George makeup. This is obviously based on Crispin's life mask. And when part 3 came out and Crispin told me that he didn't make a deal for them to use his life mask in my makeups, I gave Crispin my stories and my photos, and he got his $750,000 settlement. And I knew he was, they tried to wait till the 11th hour to get a contract, to get an agreement with him, but he was holding out for $1 million. I know this because Spielberg came up to me while we were shooting and very snidely said, "So Crispin, I see you got your $1 million after all." And then other cast and crew would tell me of problems that he caused on the first shoot. Example, not hitting his marks right. And that's why the Bobs have George in the future hanging upside down so they could control his movements. There's a urban legend out there that George, they have the story went that there was a flying car that fell out of the sky when George was out on the golf course, and he wrenched his back. So they put me as George in this ortho-lev of the future, hanging upside down, and the rails went from outside the front door to all the way through the house and into the kitchen. And they did that so they could control Crispin's movements and have him in frame and on mark, because he's a very intense actor. And personally, I love his work. But he would overshoot or undershoot his marks for framing and focus. So the Bobs, put him in this ortho-lev of the future.
Are you saying that? Okay, so just let me make sure that we're all I'm on the same page as you. So are you saying that regardless of whether you were in it or not, they would have had him upside down?
That's right. And,
okay.
I remember one of the crew came up to me while I'm being harnessed up to hang upside down. He said, "All this torture was meant for Crispin." I was like, "Great, thanks a lot." I think I'm still owed stunt pay. I never got stunt pay. I wonder what the statute of limitations is on that. But
in watching it, we just thought that the guy's back had went out or something like that. So I don't know. I know you're in the mountains there. So guys, if he ends up being a little choppy here, I think he'll tell us when he comes back here. When this catches up, this is part of internet. He'll catch up. He froze there. Let me see. What I'll do is I'm going to remove him and see if we can, when he comes back here, I'll talk a little bit. Let me see when he comes back. But let me talk a little bit about what we got here, just in case, you guys are not aware. Okay. Cause we kind of jumped in there pretty quickly. Right now I see that he's frozen. Maybe he'll jump back in here in just a moment. But anyway, so Jeff Weissman is the I'm going to call it the older George, replacement George in Back to the Future 2 and 3. Well, I'm going to ask him when he comes back eventually about the character, or where he was in 3, because it just doesn't jump out at me. that 3 is not my personal favorite movie. I know if you're an Old West fan or whatever that it would be, but I was always a Future guy, you know, and always loved the Future when I was a kid. It's funny, I don't care about that now, but it's, you know, at the time, being my being Gen X, being that age, you know, where everything was going to be the 2000s. All right, let's see. We got him back here. Okay, I'm sure that we got cut off there. You were talking about that I think you didn't get stunt pay.
No, right. I live up in the mountains in the Gold Country in California, and my Wi-Fi is questionable at best. But nonetheless, there's an urban legend out there that I was hung upside down, that George was hung upside down to obscure that hide that it was a different actor, and that's not the truth. It was because of Chris not hitting his marks. That's my understanding. So you know, I like the trolls online are pretty harsh. You know, the adamant, you know, not my George is what I get a lot. But in a way, keep the trilogy going, try to keep it seamless, you know, doing the scenes where we had to recreate the enchantment under the sea dance, or fighting with Biff out in the parking lot. You know, we tried to get as close to the original that you saw in the first part, so you would believe, you know, so the story would be served, as opposed to a different actor with a different face. You know, people often say, "Well,
I think it was so believable, I didn't even remember that you were in the number 3." I'll be.
Yeah, I'm only in one scene in part 3 in the background, looking for my glasses. But it was then after part 3 came out that Crispin, you know, my close-ups with your work, and they only want to pay me $1,000 scale or whatever. I was like, well, that's not good. And so
dang it.
I don't like the actor's performance. And anyway, yeah, they're butting heads, and it's not likely that there'll be a 2 George show, FanCon panel, whatever, reunion. But I would love that. And I think we should do it, that the Bob and Crispin apologize or do whatever they need to do to get along, and do it for Michael's charity. Because you know, Mike's raised over $2 billion, and they're close now. They have the markers for Parkinson's, and you know, the government stopped research on many levels. I have to show you, though, you know, over the years, people make art and get it to me. This is, I don't know if you can see it, is my only George McFly Old George 2015 action figure that Uberfan.
Okay, that would be like a custom. Custom.
Yeah,
like a custom figure. Wow, that's cool. Oh, I think we're missing your microphone. Oh, hello. Hold on a second.
Unmute. There we go.
Okay, yeah, I hear you now.
Uberfan Brad Fife 3D printed the action figure, and then Ian Sullivan, who's been fabricating the mind control helmet and the other props for the Back to the Future musical, fabricated George's watch that you never see. You might see me in one shot or two wearing that watch. And then Kevin Bosch, superfan Kevin Bosch, sent this my way, the record of George McFly reading the poetry from his Summer of ¡55.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Melt my brain. So you know,
wow.
That's the payment, you know, for many years, because the studio tried to keep me secret. I wasn't included in any of the press. I wasn't allowed to promote myself. You know, Universal was kind of a mess. How they were going to try to keep me a secret without Crispin suing was beyond me. But nonetheless, I started doing the reunions in 2008. And for me, the payoff has been getting connected to the fans around the world. I remember during the pandemic of getting on a Zoom call with the Japanese fan club. And if you I got on this call with there's probably about 20 little Japanese Back to the Future fans. Oh. And if you look on each square, they're dressed as a different Back to the Future character.
Oh,
it
wow.
was so cool. They were cool. loving. They love it's the win for me. And there was only one so far that I've found of the 2015 George McFly cosplay, and this is it. Yeah, if you can bring that up. That's little Dexter. He was 1 year old. His father Thomas is one of the super fans. They're from Denmark.
Oh wow!
Dexter was upside down for 10 seconds. So those at home who say, "Please don't," the child did not suffer. Dexter is probably 10 years old now.
Oh wow! Wow!
These are the things that really make it fun for me: is the cosplay, the fan art, getting to see the cat. Very hard, long hours. Mike and I, we'd get off at the same time and take an hour to get out of our makeups. And then I remember I'd be bleary-eyed after a 26-hour-long day of shooting, and I'd hear some screaming from the car next to me, and it'd be Mike hanging out of his limousine window going, ah, just wigged out. Mike Fox was a really great guy. He, was shooting the last season of Family Ties during the day, and we had him at night and on the weekends, and we'd shoot straight through the weekends. And I was like, Mike, when do you sleep? And he'd say, in the limo, in between the studios. And I was like, man, we were tired.
Wow.
And it's always good to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. So you, okay. So I think one thing that jumped out at me a few years ago, this was, did you help work on a reunion thing out there at the Puente Hills Mall like a couple of years ago, or either that, or you were trying to do something maybe out at the, something to do with the clock or the town or something. I don't remember. There was some kind of festival thing that I saw you, create an event for or something like that. It seemed like it was a couple of years ago.
For the 2015 anniversary year, I produced a cruise, a Back to the Future cruise to end Parkinson's, a fundraiser for Mike's charity. And we only had about 60 Back to the Future fans on board, but they'll never forget it because my wife and I, we put together panels for each of the 6-7 celebrities we had on board. And we also not only screened the movies, we also had an Enchantment Under the Sea dance. And I put together a band called Mr. Fusion that had Don Fulla, Mayor Goldie Wilson on bass. I played guitar. Mark McClure played Dave McFly on drums. And Harry Waters Jr. who played Marvin Berry singing. So it was pretty unforgettable. If you go on YouTube and put in the Back to the Future Cruise 2015, whatever, Oasis of the Sea, whatever, you'll see the footage that's on there was actually shot by Dean Cundy, our cinematographer for the films. He took the footage that I use as the promo for the band. It was pretty cool. So if you want to see, they actually cut me out of the making of Back to the Future 2 documentary. And if you'd like to, I can show that.
Okay.
It's short. It's maybe about 4 minutes. And the first half of it is, let's see if I can do this. The first half is silent, just getting into makeup. Can you see this video?
We can see the video.
Oh, good. So here you got Nancy Vasta in the foreground and Sonny Berman. Sonny unfortunately passed away just a couple of years ago, of the Berman brothers, putting on the makeup. All the makeups took 4 hours to put on. I'd say get there at 4 a.m, glued in for a couple hours and then take a half an hour break for a breakfast burrito and then go back and get finished with the hair and painted and all. You see, there's Mike Mills working on Leah in the next chair, and that who just turned around was famous Kenny Myers. Wonderful people, probably the top makeup artists in Hollywood at the time. And we had Marvin Westmore, the famous Westmore family, Zoltan and his wife, who got the Academy Award for Mask. It was really top-notch makeup people. At times, we needed all hands on deck because Tom, Leah, Mike, and I all needed to be in, say, different makeups at different ages, either old age or different 85s or what have you. So it was a busy trailer. And it's going to switch here in just a second. I'm going to finally get out of the chair and get to stretch. Before, there's my Freddy Krueger look there.
Oh, man.
and now we'll switch to the young George makeup. So that was for 77-year-old George, and this is for 17-year-old George.
Huh.
There's Mike Mills touching me up.
That's gotta be. I want now. Did she to Leia was just like another actor, I guess, you know.
Yeah, at the time she was very uncomfortable. I know.
That'd be kind of weird recreating those scenes, you know, with just another person.
And especially having to kiss me with all that makeup mask prosthetic on, it was very uncomfortable for her.
Okay. So that part would have maybe been in the second movie then, where they did those scenes, you know, for that. So,
Yeah, we went back to the original location, the Hollywood Methodist Church, and had to reshoot the fighting with Biff out in the parking lot. Actually, that took place. That was back at Whittier High School, but those interiors, the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, was at the Methodist Church in Hollywood, where they do stage the Enchantment Under the Sea dance every so often to raise funds for the church or other special events. And at the time, it was very uncomfortable. That was the first stuff we shot, the Enchantment Under the Sea, and I remember Mike's first reaction was, "Oh, Crispin's not going to like this," and Billy Zane telling me that, I think Leah was in love with Crispin because they did so many things together, and she really. But and there is this one interview where I mentioned that Leah had forgotten my name when she introduced me to her mom when they were on the Universal tour. I'd play Stanley Laurel and Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx on the tour, but over the years we've become friends and very close. We're always happy to see each other, and she's Leah. She's delightful, and never aging. I think she's got a portrait up in the attic. Dorian Gray type thing. She just is forever young, and it was great to see her in Dallas. She celebrated her birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why. I think she came in. She came in on Saturday. I think because on Friday she was shooting the Chicken Sisters. She's directing and starring in the Chicken Sisters series on, I believe it's on Hulu. But here's a shot of us from, which show is this? I think this was at Chiller up in New Jersey a year or so ago. And she's, as I said, forever beautiful. Are you able to see that one?
Yeah, I got that on the screen here.
Great. So once again, it's when you shoot a film or when you do a stage production, you work really hard and you have as much fun as possible, and there's a bond that is almost like you're a miniature family that you have for a limited time. Just to have these reunions it's just delightful for us to see each other. And
wow.
it's very sad that we lost Wendy Jo Sperber. She was beloved. She had cancer, and she had a fundraiser golf tournament, and she invited Claudia Wells and I. And that's the first time, it must have been late 90s, that Claudia and I finally met each other. We drove up to Santa Barbara together, and that's how I got to know her. And we've been friends over the years. So are there some questions in the comment room?
I don't have. I think people are just intrigued listening to you. Usually, I get questions here, but I'm just getting a lot of comments. Oh, hey, I'm late, whatever. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions here myself. So what I was gonna one thing, when I talk to you and stuff like that, you do stay pretty busy. You're one of the things that you're doing is you're doing Mark Twain or something.
Yeah. When I met you in Dallas,
tell us about that.
In Dallas, I had a full beard, and just about 3 days ago, I shaved, so I just had this. So I've played Twain a couple days ago for El Campo de Sonora, the 175th anniversary of the town of Sonora in the Gold Country. And then today, I was in Columbia, California, the State Historic Park, leading a town tour as Mark Twain. And I originally played Mark Twain for a PBS movie about his trip on the very first cruise line out of New York to Europe, and a highlighted visit to the Holy Land in Jerusalem. And we shot in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and in Jerusalem in Israel. And it's streaming on PBS. It's called Dreamland, I think, Mark Twain's Adventures in Jerusalem. And Martin Sheen narrates it. They tried to get Robin Williams to narrate it. I think it was starting to get sick by that point. But nonetheless, that was my first time I fell into really kind of playing Twain. I do this thing where I fall into these opportunities. Playing Stanley Laurel at Universal, I was in between film and TV work. And a friend of mine who handles lookalikes, he called me up and asked if I ever played Stan, but I needed work. I said, let me go up there and audition. And the actor playing Oliver Hardy said, I know this guy, he can act, I'll train him. And so for 15 years, I played Stanley Laurel and Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx. So if you had your photo at Universal Hollywood with those characters, it might have been me.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, if you guys, again, anybody that's on here, if you have questions, feel free to post them, and then I'll put them on the screen. If not, I'll have a couple more here for you. Played. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say I played a Sherlock Holmes story called Sherlock Holmes and the True Believer, where I got to kidnap Santa Claus. That should be streaming soon. I see the question. Tony wants to know how much autographs and pictures will be on Saturday. What I was thinking of doing, if you bring in your own poster or special item that you want me to sign, because I get $50 at the fan cons, that I would lower that to $40. Since your show, you want to sell things, and right. I'll pick out a couple shots to have at your show for $25 or something like that, $20 or $30, $25, $30. And then I'll have the rest at that $40 rate. I usually get $50 at other shows. So
we appreciate that. I mean, I think most people at our shows are in the 40 range. So I think that's about right. I mean, that's most of the stuff that we don't have, as I explained maybe on the phone. I don't know if it did or not, but most of you'll be their only guest, and we have I'm mostly the stuff, no fluff show, I guess I call it. We're kind of like if we have somebody, we're featuring that person. We don't have our show isn't built around guests, but that doesn't mean that we don't like having them. Certainly.
And I'll have pictures. I'm sharing if you want to show. I've been in all these different shows. I co-starred with Clint Eastwood in Pale Rider. I was Screech's guru on Saved by the Bell, the High Geek. I did a guest spot on Diagnosis Murder and was on Max Headroom in Dallas. I was in the second highest rated episode of Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Johnny Dangerously, all these different shows. I will have shots from those shows. And I see Joe Ridgely asking for me to talk about the Beatles movies I'm in. You'll see that one of the posters down at the bottom is from Hard Days. Is it a Hard Day's Night? I Want to Hold Your Hand. I played a Ringo fan before I got my real training and got co-star roles. I would be in group shots, background stuff. And in I Want to Hold Your Hand, I'm a Ringo fan outside the Beatles hotel in New York. And that was directed by Zemeckis, but my scenes were directed by Spielberg. And then in 77, I played four different scenes in Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and I get brainwashed by Alice Cooper in that one. And yeah, I was just out of high school, and my parents didn't want me to act until I got my schooling done right. So I'd do shows in school and community theater and such. And then afterwards, I just jumped. I wanted to get on big movie studio sets and see what it was like. And I joined this company that just gave, waiver background type work. And, and my first day on the set, I'm on a soundstage. I was like, is someone smoking pot at 7:30 in the morning? And I followed my nose. And it took me to Barry in the 70s. Took me to Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees. I was like,
oh, wow.
He goes, sure. Do you want some? I was like, of course. I'm 17. I'm out of. Oh my God, there's tobacco in that. He said, well, that's how we like to smoke it in England. And then Robin Gibb came over, I remember, and said, Barry, we've made #1 on Billboard, or whatever their current record was. And I was the first to congratulate them. I have a lot of fun stories off that one. I fell in love with this blonde dancer in being hypnotized by Alice Cooper's character. And the third day, we had Alice remotely on video, and this lovely girl, Cheryl, this dancer, I guess, she was very friendly with me, and I was like, oh my God, I love this girl. And on the third day, I went right to her in the morning, and she said, oh, Jeffrey, I want you to meet my husband, Alice. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. Hey,
oh man.
Cheryl.
Oh geez, that had to be fun. Not really.
Thanks for that question, Joe. That was a good one.
Yeah. You mentioned the other day that you were at the opening of our opening during the opening time. I don't know if the opening day or whatever of the Universal here in Florida. So did you do anything there, or just kind of there being a character?
I was more at the groundbreaking.
Oh, okay. Because
I did the first shovel of dirt at Universal Florida with Conan and Red Sonja and Woody Woodpecker and Frankenstein, and I was playing Stanley Lord. A bunch of television shows, these Central Florida magazines. We'd go on and interview, and then we did an attack. All the characters got into these vans, and we went to the front gate of Disney World and said, "Hi, we're your new neighbors," and we got hijacked. Someone tipped them off that we were coming, and they said, "If you'll just come with us, we have Mickey waiting to meet you." And they take us to their cameras and their stage with Mickey and Minnie, saying, "Welcome, Conan and Red Sonja and Frankenstein and Universal characters." It was crazy guerrilla publicity stunts. I have many colorful stories of my years there, and that's what I'd like to do at your show. I love socializing with the fans, sharing the stories from Pale Rider or Saved by the Bell or whatever people are interested in.
And we did this on a short notice thing ever since I met you there in Dallas, and then you said, hey, I'm available for this date, and we put this together. But what I'd like to do is I probably, you saw my schedule there anyway. and not necessarily right immediately, but have you at another show where we can where we can have a little bit more time to have a discussion live there. The show this weekend, as most people know, this is our schedule. I don't have this weekend's show on there, but this is the rest of the year. As you see, I get around Florida depending on the areas there, and I'll probably, I may have given you one of these, but I'll probably share with you again via email. But let me add him back in here. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Anyway, but yeah, I'd love to have you back and for another event. And then what we can do is maybe either and I get this idea from our friend Keith Coogan, who you said that you know him, and he's come to our shows, and he does these movie things where he talks about the movie. He'll show it. I haven't been to one, but he does like a little thing where he'll talk about the movie either beforehand or after or during. I don't know. I need to go to it, but I know he does that. And he's always, it's really what people don't really realize. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is there's a lot of stories that are very interesting to people. And you don't get that in just a, hey, here's an autograph. Here's an autograph. And it's very intriguing to hear some of these stories.
And I love to have that kind of attention where I get to tell the stories. One of the questions I see is what was the moment that Jonathan asks that sticks out to you as an actor when you realized it? Wow, I'm an actor. I did it. I have to say I was actually a kid, and I was doing a show at UCLA as a favor to a director who had directed me in children's theater for his thesis project. And Joyce DeWitt was playing my mother in Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. And I thought that was great. I said, oh, I'm now working with a really, really talented actress. And she hadn't gotten Three's Company yet. A year or two later, when she got that, she came out and saw me. I was working at the original Renaissance Fair. And, I think through the years, building the career and finally going from minor supporting character to co-starring roles. When I auditioned for Clint Eastwood, I knew I had to cry on cue, and I was able to do that. And then 2 days later, I was on an airplane going to play cowboy for 6 weeks on Pale Rider with Clint, and that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, I've got a per diem. I'm here with some of the most fantastic talent, Richard Dysart and Michael Moriarty and Carrie Snodgrass, and the just talent was phenomenal. And we all became, like I said, kind of a family. We'd socialize together. We'd get snowed in by blizzards, and the production would get shot down for 3 days, and we'd just hang out and party. And it was really great. And then once we got back to work, it was very, very serious work and very hard work. And I think it shows because the films are quite good. Pale Rider turned out to be the highest grossing Western of the 1980s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm very proud to be a part of that.
That's great. I want to ask you, I have down here is I'm not a huge fan of Twilight Zone, but you said you were part of that in some way. I know that film had some drama there with issues.
Yeah. I got the call that Spielberg 3 months.
Oh, sounds like we're having some more internet issues, but we'll overcome that here, I'm sure.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Yep.
Spielberg had enough in the can that he decided to finish the film. So 3 months after the terrible tragedy with Vic Morrow and the kids being decapitated by the helicopter on Landis's segment, they decided they were going to finish the film. And I was asked to audition for George Miller, director of Mad Max, Road Warrior, Babe, and it was George's first Hollywood project. And I was thrilled to be on the Warner Brothers set too. And So we were kind of simpatico. We were both in this state of excitement, and my audition was to tell a joke, and I had several jokes I told him, and we got along great. And so then I got asked to play the role of a young newlywed man on the airplane with the creature on the wing tearing it apart in the remake of Nightmare at 30,000 feet. And once again, I was part of an ensemble. If you want to see the photo, in this picture, there's Charles Knapp next to Abby Lane, next to Donna Dixon, Margaret. And wow. I'm over there with my newlywed wife, and we're all looking. This is the shot when we finally landed and realized that John Lithgow's character is not lying. The engine was torn apart by Larry Cedar from Deadwood, played the creature in the Gremlin outfit. And some funny things about that. That outfit wasn't meant to get wet, and yet they had a rain, and they had to repaint that costume every night. And Kevin Pike, who was on the design team for the DeLorean, who the Time Machine DeLorean, who got his start on Jaws, he was also in charge of special effects on Twilight Zone movie, that segment in particular. And I remember Alan Davio, who shot E.T., was just a delightful cinematographer, and he was excited to have for the first time a tap on the lens, so George Miller could see a video monitor of what he was seeing through his lens. And George was beside himself. He was so excited for that. And Garrett Brown, who invented the Steadicam. Garrett, who's about 6'4", had the 65-pound Steadicam backpack on him, and he's running up and down the aisles of the fuselage of the plane, getting these incredible shots. Wow. Yeah, I have lots of great stories from all these movies that I'll tell at your show on Saturday.
Okay, great. All right, and that is this Saturday, guys. So he'll be flying in on Friday, and he'll be there, hopefully seeing our craziness of the setup, and he'll be there Saturday. Our hours are we're open at 9. I'm sure Jeff will be there. And then it will be our 9 to 4 is our normal time, and then we'll have Jeff back. And maybe we're gonna try to get maybe along with you, maybe try to get oh man, all of a sudden my mind went blank. Claudia Wells, because she was really cool too. And she signs everything. I was like, stayed in her line. Her line was actually took me the longest to get through on Friday. Couldn't believe it. I was like, man. But anyway, okay. Let's see.
I was muted because my microphone got unplugged. Me moving around so much. Sorry about that.
Okay. Let's see. There was a time met an actor you want to work with. Jonathan had another thing here. Was there a time when you met? Oh, I'll let you read that.
Oh yeah, a positive experience with actors that I've wanted to work with. I have to say, I really have had mostly positive experiences. I loved working with Michael Keaton on Johnny Dangerously. I loved working with John Lithgow. I have great stories with John and great stories with Michael Moriarty and Clint. Really, I have been a very, very lucky man. I pinch myself going, wow, Michael J. Fox and I, at the end of the first week of shooting, we were having a beer, sharing stories in his trailer. And, it's every time we get together, it's smiles and a good time. So, I've been very lucky. I still have many actors that I wish I could work with, Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman. And,
right.
I have my idols, I guess, that I look up to. So, and I haven't stopped acting. I just did a support role in a film called No Address that's going to raise money and awareness for the homeless. It's giving 50% of its profits. It's now streaming, called No Address. I have scenes with Billy Baldwin and Kristen Loken from Terminator 3. Hard story, but uplifting and good stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Jeff, thanks for taking the time today. I know you got another thing you got coming up, and I'll let you get prepared for that. There is another show. I'll share that if you guys want to hear Jeff maybe talk on that other show, I don't remember the name of it. Maybe you want to mention it here. That's coming up. You have another podcast or something that you're going to be on.
Yeah. Joe Ridgely, who's in the chat, Indie Escape.
Yeah, okay, Okay, Joe, and thanks for coming on here. And again, we'll see you Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. And then hopefully we can have you back at another event somewhere. And like I said, we just kind of put this together very quickly, and then hopefully you have a great time, and we can plan something a little bit more involved next time.
I'm really looking forward to it, Jeff, and I've got a few questions for you. I'll take up with you offline.
Okay, no problem. Have a great day. We'll see everybody, and we'll see everybody Saturday. Okay, have a great weekend. Again, we're open on Saturday. The doors open at 9, and we are at the Avanti, which is now called Wyndham, the Wyndham Avanti on iDrive. Have a great day, great evening, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
See you in
Bye
the
now.
future.
Yeah, see you. That's a good one. See you in the future. Bye now.